Hey everyone, my name is Chloé Delune and I warmly welcome you to my channel. No matter how much experience you already have, personal development is a lifelong process, or in other words, it's eternal. Quitting Instagram for almost 2 years was essential for me to set my personal objectives in life, as well as creating strategies to achieve my goals. I believe that having purpose is key to find meaning in your life and thus crucial for your journey of personal growth. Purpose does not only guide important choices you have to make in life, but gives you right directions even when you're feeling lost. You're the very only person who fully knows which dreams you need to pursue to be happy. I deactivated my Instagram without hesitation because utilizing social media daily caused me to drift away from what I actually preach and who I truly am just to get attention. My social media detox brought to light that the love I actually craved, only I myself could provide. Instagram almost sets a status quo of how life should be lived and what we need to have. The root cause of this is that we falsify our lives in order to induce others to look up to us or to draw attention to ourselves. Everyone puts on an image that they want you to see. People try to create a fake perfect life. Perfect house, perfect friends, perfect clothes, perfect boyfriend, and the list goes on, but honestly, this ideal is just out of reach. Truth be told, there's not one person that I know of who tells me I love IG. Every time I use it, I feel like I did something productive and I gained something from it. Instead, I hear statements such as, I wished Instagram culture didn't exist. Everything was better in the past. And this turns out to be incredibly problematic because social media does not only harm you, but the future generation. The consequences will affect your children, your grandchildren, your family members, your partner, or in other words, the people who you love the most. In my opinion, there's not enough legislation that is implemented to hinder mental illnesses and to protect our future generation. This is the reason why we need more people who raise their voices and dare to challenge the status quo. Besides, it is a fact that mental illnesses are on the rise. Question being why people still ignore warning signs. If and only if we unify people and defeat social expectations, we'll be able to redefine the status quo and live a peaceful life. We need to create a legacy which is built on truth and reality for the sake of each and every one. At the end of the day, life is only fun if you can embrace who you truly are. So let's raise awareness before it's too late. Lesson number 1, quitting IG is like a substance withdrawal. Admittedly, after deactivating IG, I felt kinda lonely. I also have to emphasize that I live alone in Vienna and my parents live in Germany, and COVID just happened. Feeling disconnected in the beginning is completely normal though, because you have to think about the fact that 95 million photos are shared on IG every single day. So having said that, it felt like all the information and impressions I perceived daily in the form of videos and images were suddenly gone. I finally stopped analyzing all this information, which honestly doesn't even serve any purpose for me. In retrospective, I adapted very fast to life without IG, which turned out to be so nourishing for my mental health. I want to call attention to the fact that IG is designed to be addictive though. If you post a photo and get likes, your brain releases dopamine, which is why you most likely want to make that same experience again. This is pretty much a problem because next time if you don't hit the likes you wanted to receive, you may fall into a black hole. It's like a vicious cycle, if you will. We think we are connected via IG when in reality, face-to-face communication gets lost. Let's say you went to a restaurant last week and you uploaded a story of your 2,000 calorie meal including cheese fries, double beef burger, a diet coke and ice cream, which you probably didn't even eat, but you know, at least you shared a legit photo with your followers. Naturally, you didn't tell your friends about your dinner because you assumed that they already saw your Instagram story. My question for you is if he or she knew how that dinner went. Well, think about it. Anyways, you have to understand that quitting social media is like a substance withdrawal. The first days are the hardest, but once those have passed, it gets much easier. In my case, even better. It was like a relief. which leads us to lesson number 2. Lesson number 2, saying goodbye to social media is a way to mitigate social pressure, and it helps you become emotionally stable. Deactivating IG literally felt like I was hitting a real-life pause button. The social pressure that influenced my mood, behavior, and everyday life disappeared from one minute to the next. The longer I didn't utilize IG, the better I felt and the more emotionally stable I became. As I already mentioned, IG is like an addiction that assures us to be worthy of attention. However, getting high on social media does not only trigger off a physical hangover such as a headache, but even a mental one. Hangovers are temporary, and even though we know excessive drinking is bad for us, we'll do it all over again. And that's exactly the same thing with social media. And I didn't suffer from these awful ups and downs after I deactivated my Instagram. And I'm definitely not saying that you don't have problems without IG and that you'll achieve perfect peace and that you won't ever encounter stressful events again. Challenges are essential to grow stronger and to reach your fullest potential, and that's just part of life. What I'm saying is that I wasn't influenced by unnecessary problems such as unhealthy comparisons, my value based on likes, and the way I am perceived on my photos versus reality. To be honest, I solely focused on myself. Instead of worrying about what other people did, I cultivated healthy habits. In fact, I became the most mentally stable I have ever been in my entire life. I'm a firm believer that IG is like a deathbed for people who are emotionally fragile. Lesson number 2 correlates with lesson number 3. I discovered my life purpose. When I excessively used social media, I drifted away from who I am. After 1.5 years without IG, I finally rediscovered my 4 core values and thus identified what was missing in my life. Faith, courage, optimism, and love are my 4 core values, which ultimately describe who I am in my deepest nature. Most importantly, I found purpose in my life, which is the ultimate key for stability in your life. Your purpose is your choice. Don't ever forget that. Let's be real, we all have at least once asked ourselves thought-provoking questions like, what is my higher purpose, or what is the meaning of my life? Why am I here? Let me remind you, you will ask yourself life's main questions again when entering different stages in your life. However, I am a firm believer that people who practice and cultivate self-reflection hold the key to a more stable and happier life. People who never want to stop growing spiritually. People who constantly attempt expanding their horizons. In other words, people who are willing to learn from experience with the objective of maximizing their potential. I mean, I'm only 26 years old, but I am at a major turning point in my life, meaning that I see importance in unifying my body, mind, and spirit. I don't want to wait any longer doing what I love the most. So my time off from social media made me realize that I never was and never want to be or become just another person in the crowd. I don't want to fit in, and thus I don't even allow anyone to compare me to others anymore because I love being different, you know? I always say normal is boring. Further, I need to live a creative life because I naturally speak and write with heart. I notice things others miss, such as emotional subtitles. This is the reason why I feel fulfilled when helping others and sharing my knowledge, tips, and life experience, whether it is through a platform or individually. If I don't pursue my mission now, I will regret it sooner or later. Lesson number 4, I regained my confidence. Lesson number 4 is the most important one to me personally. I used to be that person who never cared what people think of me, but I completely lost sight of my values over the years. It got to the point where I almost felt like I developed a social anxiety. Trust me, this is neither easy to admit for me, nor to talk about it, because I'm always supporting the underdog, but I myself don't like being the underdog. Reason being that I rather fix someone else's problem so that I don't have to think about my own issues. That's a problem, I know. I finally had the courage to make myself vulnerable and talk to a counselor at SDSU. This person really helped me valuing up and helped me to love myself again. So maybe let me elaborate on this one. When utilizing IG, I would constantly think of how people would perceive what I post, do, like, and say, and since I come from a family that is very tolerant, loving, and supportive, meaning I don't really have family drama other people might go through, I would purposely create other drama to get attention. Like, why? On the other hand, I feel most like myself when wearing no makeup, my natural curly hair and cute dresses. However, when I have an event to attend, I put on false lashes, clip-in extensions and provoking outfits. And yes, that's also part of me, but certainly not how I look every single day. As sad as it is to say, this led to my anxiety running into people when I don't look on fleek. Why is this problematic? Well, because I give off a completely different vibe on my photos, maybe even arrogant and shallow, even though I am the complete opposite. With lesson number 7, I want to call attention to the psychological effects social media can cause, such as anxiety, depression, and loss in confidence. My strong impetus for deactivating IG helped me to stop wearing a mask and become myself again. You have no idea how beautifully my hair recovered from years of damaging it for stupid photos. It's insane. Also, I barely utilize the IG or Snapchat filters these days because who are you lying to? Not only to other people, but to yourself. This didn't happen overnight though, let me tell you this. It took months of being distanced from social media. After 1.5 years, I can probably say that I cleansed, respectively decluttered my mind from this fake world. It actually makes me cringe when using a filter because it's literally a distortion of who I am. Especially when I look at my old stories, I don't know why I thought flawlessness and plastic is beautiful. It's like I suffered from brain fog. But honestly, I don't regret it because it's part of my story. Otherwise, I wouldn't be where I'm right now spiritually. Lesson number 5, deactivating social media leads to better grades. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, as Nelson Mandela so aptly noted. Since I didn't waste my time scrolling through social media anymore, I had the time to diversify my day and thus improve areas of my intelligence. Back then, I didn't have enough time to focus on my studies, but also I didn't have enough time to fully engage in IG. A jack of all trades is a master of none. After deactivating my account, I wasn't only able to catch up on exams I failed, but I actually became a straight A student. My home institution nominated me for a semester abroad at San Diego State University, and I graduated my exchange summa cum laude. In general, I pride myself on my work ethic, but what really kept me motivated was the fact that I envisioned my future self. I don't want to look back in 10 years and think to myself, well, all I did was post photos. I want to become a successful entrepreneur who gives meaning to other people's lives. This is the reason why I recommend you watching the movie The Social Dilemma. It's a game changer. Instagram purposely tries to distract you from your goals and even makes money off you. I mean, how sick is that? And there's more. I got thirsty for knowledge. I found value in educating myself and getting to know myself better instead of focusing on the news, drama, and IG trends. There's things happening on Earth that need our attention more than ever. For instance, climate change is happening. I don't believe that people lack knowledge. I'm pretty sure that people are aware of the severity of the crisis, but simply deny global warming because of ignorance and resistance to change. People feel loss of control and power. I mean, all these years we've been trained for economic prosperity, and people thus just want more and more. You know, that's improved capitalism. I mean, the selfishness of humanity disgusts me. For instance, families in Nicaragua exposed to natural disasters. These families lose their homes in hurricanes, which is linked to climate change, but people in affluent countries are still not willing to make any sacrifices. It's a fact that the gap between poor and rich keeps growing, but all we see is perfection on Instagram. That's distortion of reality. Hence, I rather want to be part of making the world a better place and help benefit the collective. Lesson number 6. You have more time. You don't even know. You'd be shook if you actually knew how much precious lifetime you waste scrolling through social media. I can't tell you the exact hours I save without Instagram, but what I can tell you is this. You have so much time that you can finally do the things that you always wanted to pursue and wrote the most common excuse, I don't have time. That's just an alibi that makes you feel less guilty. For example, I finally reunited with my piano. I used to play the piano for 8 years, but we live in such a fast-paced world, you know, my dynamic lifestyle led to stress and fatigue that I simply didn't have the energy to practice a new song every day. When in reality, doing music is supposed to set you free and help you let go. Without social media, I didn't only use my spare time teaching myself new songs, but I practiced yoga every day and meditated. I got all my daily chores done early in the morning, met up with friends, studied, read 1 hour a day, and most importantly, set my future goals and worked on them daily. So you can imagine how many books I've read the last 1.5 years. I mean, at the end of the day, I felt like I did something productive and I felt fulfilled. I mean, how wonderful is it to get engulfed into a book that you become obsessed with finishing it and thus read until you can't keep your eyes open anymore? Why am I saying this? Well, I bet many people fall asleep every single night while stalking their virtual crushes, mothers, sisters, brothers, daughter who lives on the other side of the world. My loves, this does not only contribute to a lack of intellect, but it negatively affects your mental health condition and leads to insomnia. I mean, say hello to the dark side of social media. You have to think about it this way. Life is short. And if knowing this isn't enough, imagine your future self. Who do you want to be in 10 years? Or more importantly, where do you want to be in 10 years? Well, instead of looking up other people, respectively looking at your own posts and imagining what other people might see in you, you better check in with yourself and work on that job or degree you subconsciously really want. Start that hobby or try out an instrument you secretly always wanted to be able to play. Whatever it might be that you always wanted to do it now. And always keep in mind that practicing an instrument makes you smarter because you train your memory. On the other hand, IG makes us more stupid without us even noticing. That's sick, right? This is your wake-up call. Start to live. Without IG, I got rid of peer pressure and thus only did what I truly wanted to do from the bottom of my heart. Have you ever caught yourself posting a story of your drinks at a bar just to make your crush jealous? Or have you ever caught yourself eating at a restaurant just to post that super cool Instagram story? I mean, even if you're a silent Instagrammer, meaning you just look and you don't share your life on IG, I'm sure you went to a restaurant which a blogger recommended or all your friends posted about in their stories. And again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with inspiration, but recognizing that marketing works on everyone. Probably the most interesting question to many of the ladies here. Did you still take photos of yourself? Alright, listen up. Yes, I still did take photos of myself because I've always loved to dress up and take photos, like even before IG existed. I mean, who doesn't like seeing a pretty photo of themselves and boost their confidence? There's nothing wrong with that. But only to a certain extent. I'm pretty sure that 90% of the people who are watching this and actively use social media have gotten into a fight with their boyfriend or friends, siblings or parents even, because they weren't able to take a decent photo of you, or even worse, they couldn't find the most flattering angle and suddenly your mood and thus your entire day was ruined. Well, you and me, we both know there's a major problem here, recognizing that this harms your relationships. Like, I mean, how stupid is that? It's not their fault that today was just not a good day for taking photos. And again, there's nothing wrong with taking photos of yourself and sharing them on a platform, but I feel like with IG, it got to such an unrealistic point where people don't even look like themselves on their photos anymore. Either making themselves skinnier or using an app to deform their faces. And the saddest thing of it all is that I mostly see girls editing themselves who are actually incredibly beautiful. No wonder that young girls already undergo surgery to look like a Kardashian. Ultimately, social media can make you feel inadequate. Further, I'm a traveler at heart. When I was 15 years old, I went to a girls' high school in Australia. Back then, there was no Instagram. I literally kept in touch with my family via email. Most of you can only imagine. Since social media has come into our lives, vacation turned out to be so stressful for me, especially the days before departure were traumatizing. I'm talking about all the preparations here. Going shopping, packing the right fits, getting your lashes and nails done, checking the best restaurants and photo locations, finding an affordable but yet luxurious hotel, and then repacking the whole suitcase because you changed your mind and dislike what you chose in the first place. Story of my life. And when being on vacation, if the photos didn't turn out the way I wanted, man, my entire day was ruined. And this turns out to be problematic because people only see what they want to see. They think you have the best time of your life at the beautiful beach when you actually straighten your hair for the 3rd time because the curls look shitty on the image. Moreover, I didn't have the urge to buy an excessive amount of clothes. Honestly, I love fashion and I would describe myself as very girly, but you know, most of us have at least once bought clothes that look nice on photos, but it's an outfit we'd never wear in real life. Like, why do we do that to ourselves? What is the point in that? I would also like to mention that I was able to make my style more unique. I have always loved to make a statement with my style, but on IG you get bombarded with a typical influencer look. It's so sad because people steal other people's identities and then lose sight of who they are and what they truly like. Too many women still backstab other women but preach the girls support girls movement. Hypothetically, the Girls Support Girls movement is just wonderful, but you know what is even better? Having people who support you when you actually need them. I mean, that may sound intuitive, but recognizing that following other people certainly doesn't make them friends. So I took inventory of my friendships. I believe that constantly utilizing social media triggers off rivalry and envy. Friends suddenly start criticizing you and thus make you feel guilty for being who you are, when in reality it's a projection of their internal negativity and poor self-esteem. You gotta break up with people who leave you feeling exhausted, loves. There's a difference between friendship in theory and in practice, just saying. Lesson number 9. One of the greatest gifts you could give to your loved ones is your attention. I pride myself by saying that even before I deactivated my IG, I wasn't very obsessed with being on the phone when meeting up with friends. And honestly, I hate it when people do it because I think it's rude and super disrespectful. But even when not being on your phone, if you post a photo right before you meet up with your friends, of course you'll think about how your followers or how your crush perceived your newest post, or even if your friend supported you or not. You can't give your full attention to the person who you're reuniting with if your thoughts are somewhere else. I mean, how disgusting is it when people sit together with their families and kids and are constantly on their phone? Don't ever forget that your parents won't live forever. So first of all, you won't be able to ask your parents all the questions you need to have answered about life when they aren't on earth anymore. Equally important are your friendships because you'll need them for life support when times get rough. So give them the attention they so deserve. Maybe one of your friends is even in need to talk to someone, but you don't see it because you're too focused on your newest post or next shooting location. Alrighty, many of you probably wonder why I reactivated my IG again after confidently claiming how fulfilling my life was without social media. I have two main reasons. On the one hand, I purely love expressing myself on a platform and showcase myself to those watching me. Since childhood, I have loved to be on stage and I have loved the spotlight because admiration and praise, which is basically one of those things that is embedded in our psychology. We all want to feel important and be genuinely loved by others. On the other hand, I believe that pursuit of economic growth doesn't only destroy our planet but drift societies apart. However, tech will keep changing the way we live, and thus being able to adapt to digital transformation and to the course of time is an essential skill. Having social media accounts is like your personal business card these days, whether you want to pursue a creative occupation or establish your own business. Further, the internet changed dating life or making new friendships and how we acquire knowledge forever. Indeed, technological change will continue to exhilarate. Due to my social media detox, I became aware of how dangerous IG can be for your mental health though. I initially planned to deactivate my IG for 4 weeks, but it turned into 1.5 years. Reason being that I had to figure out what I want to do with my life, because for some weird reason I constantly felt like I'm running out of time. I was literally in an identity crisis and I needed time to readjust. One of the most important tasks in life is to know who you are and who you want to become. If you're unable to connect these two, you'll have a major problem. Hence, my goal was to call attention to the severe psychological effect social media has and offer solutions of how to mindfully utilize IG. Remember when you were younger and your parents would only allow you to watch TV for an hour? Parents only want the best for their children. Unfortunately, the older we get, the less we tend to care or the less cautious we are about what is truly good for us. Well, I have cut my time down to just 30 minutes I spend on social media daily, which I honestly consider pretty long, recognizing that this makes 3.5 hours a week. So if you spend 5 hours daily on IG, dude, you better do the math. Secondly, I choose the people I follow wisely. Naturally, I follow my closest friends. So further, one thing I really do love about social media is that I can stay in touch with the friends I made all over the world. It's a fact that social media promotes the interconnectedness of our culturally diverse world. In addition, I follow accounts that post motivational and inspiring quotes. And I also follow educational accounts and the news such as CNN and xoxo. I don't follow influencers who facetune their faces and unrealistically airbrush their images to look like plastic dolls. I honestly couldn't care less, but for me personally, daily repetition of fake people is just really toxic and not very helpful for self-acceptance and self-compassion. I also don't follow any food accounts because my relationship with food is already very weird, so the last thing I need to be reminded of is how to lose weight. Another essential point is that I plan on regularly deleting the Instagram app for a couple of days. I know you don't want to hear this, but if you're unable to go through a day without IG, you're addicted. It might be the case that you don't care, but facts are facts. Additionally, I choose my friends carefully. Science has proven that you are the average of your 5 best friends. Hence, if you surround yourself by toxic energy and people who heavily edit their photos and endlessly try to achieve physical perfection, they automatically harm your perception of beauty. Lastly, mental health is such an underestimated topic, and I wouldn't publish such a video of the 1.5 years without IG didn't have such a healing effect. 1.5 years ago, I was at such a vulnerable place, I felt lost and I was breaking apart. I never thought I'd ever reconnect with my core self. So assess your feelings and start digging deeper how you actually relate to social media. Our products go through the product life cycle. On the one hand, IG is currently in its growth phase. The stage that comes next is maturity and then decline. Remember ICQ, SchülerVZ, Facebook, and now it's IG. So it's very likely that a new invention is going to replace IG. In fact, TikTok already serves as a substitute for IG. On the other hand, from a macroeconomic perspective, supply and demand will affect prices. If supply exceeds demand, IG income will fall. So it's only a matter of time. Nevertheless, social networks have become an integral part of life. Admiration, validation, praise, and attention is a normal human craving. Never ever forget to stay true to yourself though and to look after your mental state, because that's the only way to get the most from life. Become the future self you aspire to be and do the things that benefit you for the long term. Don't regret and be kind to yourself. At the end of the day, every step of your journey is so very important for your soul evolution and personal development. Thanks so much for tuning in. Big love.